In this video, I'm going to show you how to convert between units of length in the metric system, specifically between millimeters, centimeters, and meters. The image that you see on here is of a typical meter stick. And a meter stick is divided into 100 of these smaller units called centimeters. And actually, the number that you see on at the very end of the meter stick is typically a 99, just because the 100th centimeter is the end of the stick and is not marked on the stick. But those individual markings, the numbered markings, are about the width of your pinky, and that's equal to 1 centimeter. There are tiny little markings that are on it, and there are 1,000 of those tiny little markings, and those tiny little markings are called millimeters. In this image, you can see a close-up view of the beginning of a meter stick, where you can see that the centimeters are marked and the millimeters are not marked, but it takes 10 millimeters to equal 1 centimeter. That is also one of the benefits of the metric system, is you don't have to memorize a whole bunch of different conversion factors. You can convert between units all by multiplying or dividing by powers of 10. You can see the conversions written out here. 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter, and 10 centimeters is equal to 1 decimeter. Now, a decimeter is not a unit that is often used, but a decimeter is equal to a long in the base 10 blocks that many of you are used to using. But the reason I included it on here is so that you can see that anytime we're getting to a larger unit in the metric system, we're just multiplying the smaller unit by a factor of 10. So 10 decimeters then is equal to 1 meter. This also allows you to see that if I wanted to change centimeters to meters, I would have to multiply centimeters times 10 to equal 1 meter, because 10 centimeters is 1 decimeter and 10 decimeters is 1 meter. So 10 times 10 equals 100 centimeters. Likewise, if I wanted to change millimeters to meters, I would have to multiply 10 times 10 times 10. So 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. If we go back to this image, these tiny little millimeters right here, there are 1,000 of them in the meter stick, because it takes 10 to make 1 centimeter, and there are 100 centimeters in the meter stick, so 10 times 100 is 1,000. Sometimes you'll even see on a meter stick that these will even be labeled as 10 millimeters, 20 millimeters, and so on, all the way down on one side of the stick. Let's look at some examples of conversion problems. Problem number 1 says 500 centimeters is how many meters, and is how many millimeters. Well, it takes 100 centimeters to make 1 meter. So we have 500 centimeters, so we can clearly make more than 1 meter. We can just take 500 and we can divide it by 100. That gives us 5 meters. Inside every centimeter is 10 millimeters. So I have 500 groups of 10, which is 500 times 10, which is 5,000 millimeters. Remember, when you're doing these, always ask yourself, should my answer be larger or smaller than what I began with? And in this case, if I have 500 centimeters, I should have way more millimeters, because millimeters are very, very tiny, and it takes 10 millimeters to make a centimeter. Question 2 says 250 millimeters is how many centimeters and is how many meters. I can exchange 10 millimeters for 1 centimeter. So I can group these into groups of 10, and I can say, how many groups of 10 can I make from 250 millimeters? So that would be a division problem, and 250 divided by 10 is 25. 25 centimeters is not even 1 full meter, because 1 full meter is 100 centimeters. So 25 centimeters is 25 out of 100, or 25 hundredths, which is the same thing as 1/4 of a meter. Question 3 says 4 4/10 meters is how many centimeters and also how many millimeters. There are 100 centimeters in a meter. So I know I have 4 groups of 100, because those 4 whole meters are equal to 4 groups of 100 centimeters. So that's definitely 400 centimeters. Then I have part of a meter, and I have 4/10 of a meter, but centimeters are actually 1/100ths of a meter. So I'm going to fill in a 0 right here in this empty place value so that I can read that as 40/100ths of a meter. And I know 1/100th of a meter is a centimeter, so I have 40 more centimeters there. So altogether I have 440 centimeters. 400 from the 4 meters, 40 from the 4/10ths or 40/100ths of a meter. Now I'm trying to find out how many millimeters that is. There are 10 millimeters inside every centimeter. So I just need to multiply those centimeters times 10, which means I'm going to put an empty place value in the end and bump everything over one place value, 4,400. Question 4 says 74 centimeters is how many meters and how many millimeters. 74 centimeters is not even a full meter because it takes 100 centimeters to equal a full meter. So I'm going to write this as a fraction. I know it takes 100 centimeters to make a meter, and I have 74 of them, so that's 74/100ths. I could simplify that if I want. I could also write that as a decimal, which is equal to 74/100ths, 0.74 meters. I'm trying to figure out how many millimeters that is. Well, inside every centimeter is 10 millimeters, so I just need to multiply 74 times 10, which is 740.